Hi, welcome back. This is press match number 5 from my 3 nights of press matches I played with the recent Broken Arrow access. On the friendly forces, we've got Rigor Mortis, Ilo, Marnius FR, and joining player. And on the enemy team, we've got I Can't See, which in all caps, I don't know, I just find that name funny. I can't understand that next name, sorry. My friend Yeet Machine, Vulcan HD Gaming, and Ratmere. I'm going to hit start and start my video playback I'm watching here right away. And yeah, getting back into it. So this was the last match of my first night of press matches. Um, in the previous ones we've covered recently, the other 4 I've done, I tend to talk about more abstract concepts and mindset and stuff like that, without really focusing on what goes on the screen as much. For this one, I want to see if I can try and keep myself more to watching what goes on the screen itself. Just for something different, see how it feels, limit myself a bit more. There'll be downtime where we'll end up talking about other stuff, I'm sure. But also, someone left a comment recently saying, like, they like the videos, but, like, some more focus on the basics even would be good. So, I think that'll come as well. If I watch what's going on the screen and we talk about that a bit more, it'll naturally help. And you guys can let me know whether you like both or like one more or the other in the comments after this one, if you care. This is on Talon Harbor, another map I hadn't played before. It's a snow map, which is very cool. Snow maps in RTS games, it takes me right back to World in Conflict. I like snow extra because I'm Australian, so snow is like rare to me, you know, it's strange and exotic. Well, that cool snowstorm effect is going away though. I wonder if that's coming when I idle. Anyway, screen. I'm not going to get distracted here. This is quite a... I guess it's not that big a map, like it's not that far from the reinforcements to the points. It's like a little bit of a drive, but I guess it's not actually that far. It felt longer in the game. We're just riding in chat because we had to take a few tries at this game. It had a couple of problems starting up, so we restarted the lobby a few times. What am I picking here? I'm actually watching what I'm doing very closely. I'm picking my rollout, trying to decide what I want to send in. I'm going on the left part of the map, as you can see here, to these J and D points. I'd compare this map a bit to River. It's like quite wide open with how... I hope you didn't hear that. Excuse me if you did. With how wide open the engagement ranges are. I'm calling in an M1A2 SEP and some Sherrod Bradleys, which I think I'll bring back in a second after I've called in some other Bradleys. I'm bringing in a Recon Bradley, the CFE, and a couple of normal ones as well for support. And then my Sherrods as well. So in this start here, I'm using the SEP variant of the Abrams. We talked in the, maybe not the last video, but the one before, Tanks in the Trench, about how I was using the very, very cheap versions of Abrams still at that point. I still kind of am here, I haven't changed. They don't have APS on them. Someone else also left a comment saying, it's not laser APS, stop saying that. I'm sorry, I don't know where I got that idea. Maybe from playing too much General Zero Hour when I was a kid. I don't know when I equated APS to laser APS. Maybe the icon has a laser on it, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's like a kinetic anti-projectile system. It doesn't use a laser. So I've got my nice little column here. What I'm trying to do here is space the column out. I love Broken Arrow, but one of the things that can be a little tougher about it, that makes you micromanage a bit more, is formations. Like, in a game like Total War or other games like that, you can, like, hold right-click with your move order and drag and, like, really space your units out very far with one simple move. That's one of the few things, surprisingly, that Broken Arrow doesn't really let you do yet, very elegantly. You have to kind of do everything manually when it comes to spacing your units out. So there I was like, I didn't really succeed in it very much, but I was trying to like stop the column of units and let the forward one get a bit ahead, then, you know, the second unit, then the third, because it's very important in this game to not cluster up and bunch up. And your units, with the way the controls work at the moment, I don't know if they'll tune it for release or post-release, but it is something you got to watch out for, is that your units will naturally bunch up when given orders together. And you've really got to, you know, it's a bit of a chore click-wise, but you've really got to take that extra time to spread your units out when they're in a combat situation, or everything's going to get killed by one bomb or one rocket cluster artillery strike. Starting purely with armor here really gives you some respect for the travel times in this game. It's one of the things I like most about this game, honestly, in the multiplayer, is how much travel time and logistics and speed matters. Hey, cats, don't fight. I'm doing a professional recording. Sorry, my cat family. it's good. It's a good balance between speed and power in this game. The heaviest tanks might be monsters in combat, but the fact that they take so long to move around compared to a wheeled vehicle, or especially aircraft, really separates different types of unit in this game. And I think I even saw someone complain, in this game, or was it another game? I don't know. Basically, they're saying, like, oh, you know, like, it's all about light vehicles and stuff like that, medium vehicles. It's like, yeah, that's... I think that's a strength. Like, tanks are very powerful in this game. But, at the same time, it's not all about them. Like, the mainstay units are light and medium units of the battles, as it should be, really, as makes sense. And then tanks are like these standout pieces when you bring them in. But it all depends on what you decide to bring in, of course. Now let's look again at what I'm doing here. So I'm trying to split my forces up even more. We're entering combat now. So I'm giving attack move orders towards positions I want them to end up in. We're fighting against that T-15 Barbarous there on J point. Unfortunately, because it popped smoke in time, I don't think we hit it, but we might have with the Shorad's Hellfires. They tend to be pretty resilient to getting in through smoke. If they're close enough when the smoke gets popped, they'll still hit the target. We might have got a hit there by the look of it, because that Barbarous came out of the smoke a bit dinged up. And it looks like those Marines kill it too, so nice job to them. They ripple-fired their AT-4s probably. They fired them all their anti-tank launchers in quick succession, and in doing so got through their not laser to the Arena kinetic APS system. And for those of you who don't know anything about the game or Modern Warfare or anything like that, APS, just to be clear, is a protection system that intercepts missiles. In this game, it's like every 5 seconds is its cooldown. So as long as you don't get hit by more than one missile in a 5-second span, you'll stop the missiles. It has limited charges. Most tanks have either 2 or 4 before it's exhausted, and you could resupply that at a supply dump. But it's a very powerful but expensive piece of tech that protects you from missiles like anti-tank guided missiles very well. Bit of a danger coming in here because there's a gunship on its way towards my mech. Now, where is my Shorad, and why am I not pushing it up to get that tank a bit better? I'm leaving my units there. Right now I'm setting up my AA as well, I see. So I've actually got some Patriots back here I've set up as well. And I'm bringing in some Pivads to screen in front of them. I'm not turning the radars on my Patriot anti-air systems until the Pivads are in place, and I use the Pivads to soak for them. The seed missiles in this game, again if you're new, it's a missile that homes in on radar anti-aircraft pieces. Seed missiles will be shot at your anti-air pieces if their radar is on by jets and stuff like that. And what you can do is have a tougher piece of anti-air radar on, like a Pivad's there that's cheaper, and it costs like 90 points, and it can tank multiple seed missiles, and just be a cheap way to like tank those threats for your more expensive, more vulnerable and flimsier, but more powerful Patriots. So usually I never deploy Patriots unless they have some kind of screening unit like a Pivad's or something like that to soak some fire. Because otherwise, you can get overwhelmed very easily and lose your AA. And it's very important not to lose all your AA and Broken Arrow. Maybe you don't have all yours, but like your team needs to have some. As a 5-man or 5 whatever team, you need to have some kind of AA, because if the enemy gets complete air superiority and they can just do whatever they want with jets, you're so screwed. I just lost one of my Bradleys over there in the tree line. Got killed by the T90's ATGM, I think. It's either mounted on the turret or it's being fired out of the barrel, like a barrel-launched ATGM. Anti-tank guided missiles in this game, they have longer ranges, or they tend to have longer ranges than tank cannons themselves. So I think especially Russia's tanks tend to bring a lot more of them. Like, you don't get ATGMs mounted on an Abrams, but we do have them on the Bradleys, of course. And so it's something you have to watch out for when you're playing tank v tank, and tank v anything really, is that your cannons will typically be outranged by ATGMs, and you've got to watch out for that. In that situation, it's a real advantage for the Russian tank there, able to snipe my Bradley like that. We're firing one of ours back at that. That's a little cheap ATGM carrier for Russia. And I'm forgetting I don't have APS here. I'm kind of just letting that ATGM come towards my set the whole time without really doing anything about it. Because I'm kind of used to like, oh, it's like my most expensive tank, so it can take one, it'll APS it. It's like, no, like, actually I didn't buy the APS on that tank, so it just gets hit in the side, which means now I have to go back and heal right away. The thing I should have been paying more attention to here, which I don't think I was at the time, is enemy recon, right? I'm pretty sure that Abrams didn't leave the tree line, which means for it to be spotted and fired on like that, I would say that Russia has a recon unit probably in that cross of trees directly left of the screen right now, directly left of this M2A4 Bradley. I'd say they would have some kind of sniper or stealthy recon unit pushing through those trees, spotting all of my units, and getting targeting solutions that way. This is something I should have paid attention to quicker. When you're playing this game, it's very easy to not know. It's very easy to get distracted by pressure. But this isn't the video I want to talk a lot about that. I want to actually look at what's going on with my team, because this is my chance to see the things I didn't see when I played. You can see my teammate who pushed ahead this whole time with the strikers and everything is getting mauled a bit now. Also, I just lost my Recon Bradley there. Again, I think it was to ATGMs, I want to say. At this point, my initial rollout force hasn't achieved much, and has been, you know, attrited quite heavily. It's taken, what, half losses of the units I rolled out with, a couple of Bradleys and a Recon Bradley, maybe just the 2 or 3, but either way, you know, it's not going well. I have a lack of stealthy Recon here, and I think I rolled out into the map being like, okay, it's wide open, I'll just bring some tanks, I'll play a tank force. I'm doing 2 things very wrong with that fundamentally, as I try to get the Shorad to kill the helicopter here. Fundamentally, one of the things I'm doing wrong is I'm sitting still, which is really not what tanks are best at, in my opinion. And we don't have stealth, we don't have great optics. Even the Recon Bradley doesn't have better stealth and recon to spot an enemy recon infantry first, right? That's just not going to happen. The Recon Bradley will get spotted first. So what's happening is that by sitting here, I'm just letting the enemy, you know, creep up stealthy units, spot me, and just start taking me out with ATGMs, helicopters, artillery. They're just messing me up. Like at this point even, you can see that my Shorad, I was trying to push forward to get that enemy helicopter. Well, now it's too late. Now the enemy's pushing ground units onto J, and now that AAP is getting hit by ground units. So it's not good, you know. I'm getting stuck in a static kind of defense that I'm not really doing well at here. The other thing is that while I identify this is the part of the map that has long ranges for combat, there is a wrinkle to that, is that there is these thin lines of trees running all over the place, and that's just a highway for enemy recon and infantry to sneak up on me. If those trees weren't there, and my Bradley CFV was sitting in the same positions, I'd probably see the recon coming, but I don't, and that's how they're kind of sneaking up on me and creeping on me. Trying to hide my Shorad and building cover there. It's going to be hard for it to get out of there without getting messed up on 1 HP. My Bradley is doing the same here. Using buildings like this as line of sight blockers can be very, very effective to help units fight better. Way! That was quick. I think that tank was shooting my Shorad and then switched gears to shoot that Bradley as soon as it came out or something, but that shouldn't even be possible. That was quite a snapshot, basically. That thing took me out instantly as I popped out from the J point. Unfortunately, the Shorad's getting hit now. You can see they took no damage from that Hellfire missile because they've got an APS system blocking for them there. And really what we needed there is to have my Abrams engaging them up front to be tanking for the Shorad piece. So it's a failure to engage properly with my armor here. That's leading to bad results. If that engagement had instead been me like holding fire with the Bradley Shorad, waiting till I get my Abrams to engage the enemy tank first, and then letting my Shorad only reveal itself once the enemy tank is busy with my tank, that would have worked better. ATGMs are very powerful, but once enemy tanks get within range of their carriers, especially if the carriers are lighter armored IFVs like Bradleys, typically tank cannons are going to beat them out. Especially if the tank has an APS system, so it's not taking any fire in return. They're immune, and, you know, you can't APS a tank shell. So in that case, that's where you want the tougher armored tanks of your own to be literally doing the tanking, while your ATGM systems are your DPS. It's a nice way to look at vehicle play, I think, when you're doing tank on tank, is you use your tanks to tank, the ATGMs and, well, mainly the tank cannons, right? But the ATGMs as well, if you have APS systems, whatever. And then have your ATGM carriers, like Bradleys and all that, have them hanging out behind your tanks, just providing longer range fire support from out of sight of the range of the cannon fight that's going on between both lines of tanks. Now at this point I brought up some more tanks, looks like more SEPs. But this is where the whole travel time thing comes in. I would have called those tanks in a few minutes ago, and back then I probably still would have had some of those Bradleys. The problem is now... Ooh, that recon is ruining me. The problem is now, We do shoot it down, which is good. Patriots do a good job. The problem is now, he said for the third time, I now have these tanks here, but nothing else to support them because all that stuff died. This is a problem that you can get into sometimes, where your slower units that are driving to a point, if you're not driving them all there together as one combined force, you can have this problem, where by the time they arrive, the thing they were reinforcing is dead, and then you call in reinforcements for the new units, and by the time the reinforcements get there, maybe they're dead. In like hero shooters like Overwatch and team games with respawn, where you're like pushing an objective, this is like called trickling. It's like, you know, half your team dies trying to take the cap zone, and you're like, Captain America, please just wait for the rest of us, we're respawning. It's kind of like that here. It's like, Abrams, please wait, we need to respawn now. And it's something we obviously have to try to avoid, but more than anything, you can just see the subtle suppression on my brain here in this whole match, that at no point am I really making an effective attempt at spotting the enemy's recon, which almost certainly, in hindsight, is just up that tree line from my forwardmost Abrams, right? Almost certainly just, you know, up and left, up that thin tree line, there's going to be a Russian sniper or something. And you can tell that from what's going on. You can tell that from my units hidden in tree lines getting spotted and airstrike and everything. And that should really have been my priority to take out here is, you know, I've ended up bringing in weapons teams and a sniper on my left flank there because I'm trying to stop them from outflanking me. I'm trying to stop them from being able to bring a flank force around my left there. Good kill on for my Abrams on a Shilka there. And, you know, do that, but really even more than, you know, it's a good thing to do anyway, to have a cheap force there that's barely costing anything, just blocking my left, and maybe start creeping up the left flank in the next phase. But really more than anything, that sniper needs to be up where my tank is, pushing up that tree line, finding and detecting the enemy recon, and helping me kill them. And that would be so good for me here. I would actually be able to do things. As it is, it's just something I didn't really... I didn't really think about at the time. It's all too easy when you're not a god gamer to forget these things in Broken Arrow. It's way too easy for 15 minutes to just fly right by in this game, and for you to constantly be like, oh, I'm just doing this thing, I'm just doing this thing, I'm just doing this thing, and there they are finally, see? And before you know it, you've never got around to it. You've got to be careful not to procrastinate too much in this game, right? You've got to be careful not to let it be too much like how I live my real life, where it's like, oh yeah, I'll do that thing around my house, and then a year later I haven't done, you know, done that job or whatever it is. That's really a problem you can have in Broken Arrow. It's part of the skill of the game is, here's my supplies, training your brain, training your mental fortitude to be able to go, okay, you know, I can recognize something's happening here, and I'm going to be able to get out of my lizard brain and deal with it. You know, you've got to take time to actually think, rather than just acting on instinct all the time. As much as that's a great song from the Command & Conquer soundtrack. Another one of these jets coming in. I don't even have time to look at what it's striking right now. I'm just watching my sniper. Well, I shouldn't say I don't have time. It makes it sound like I can't play better. I'm not taking the time right now. I'm just focusing on the sniper, who, unfortunately, they know where they are because they were spotted by the enemy recon. Boom goes that jet. My Patriots score another kill, which is good. But you can see I'm still getting mauled, and again, it's kind of like the trickling problem, especially with armor here, where, you know, this is what I would call a very messy lot of gameplay right now. I constantly use that metaphor of stacking up outside a building and getting shot while you're trying to get ready. Again, that seems like what's happening here, and it'll happen a lot in this game, because fire support options are very strong in this game, artillery and jets and all that kind of bombing, very good, and also long-range ATGMs. The enemy's playing a better game than me here. They're keeping me off my toes, or keeping me on my toes and keeping me off balance. And I want to launch into talking about, you know, mental pressures and how that's the game within the game, and how how, you know, keeping your enemy too suppressed mentally and panicked and overwhelmed to think reasonably and rationally is the key to winning matches, and it's all about taking the initiative. But then also I'm ignoring what's happening on the screen again, which is, I believe I just called in a bunch more Bradleys, and we might see me actually make a more concerted attempt to achieve something here with them, I think, because I think at this point almost all of my initial rollout force has been killed, just sitting here accomplishing nothing. You know, like this Abrams I would have brought in after, and it's kind of like a Ship of Theseus situation at this point. It's like, this is like the last armored reinforcement I brought in for the reinforcements of my initial force, and none of it has ever really accomplished much. It's just been getting outranged, out-reconned, you know, I've been getting killed blind. And I think at this point, I started to recognize that, like, everything I'm doing here is going wrong. And again, 15 minutes goes by very quick. It can look like a lot when you're rewatching it, maybe, I don't know. But when you're playing this game, when you're kind of tunnel-visioned in, it just goes by like that, and you're like, oh my god, it's what time in the match? And, you know, you realize, oh my god, I've done nothing. And so I think this was my first attempt to actually do something a bit different, I want to say. Like, this is the opposite of trickling. This is me going, okay, I'm going to bring in a force and actually attack with it. And this is a lot of units, but I haven't brought any Abrams. There's no more expensive main battle tanks in this, which is why I'm able to afford so many Bradleys, because the Bradleys are cheaper. So these poor tow guys, they're just being finished off as the recon's still on them. I'm not going to get to accomplish anything this match. The enemy is doing a good job here. They've pushed beyond the J and D points, and they're doing what we say you're going to do, right? They're now taking ground in front of the point, because they don't want me to steal it back. They want to hold this point for real. So they've got light ATGM carries there and stuff like that. I'm falling back everything I can here. And I've spread the Bradleys out in a wide line, and after having do that, I'm moving them in. Again, I'd really like it if this game had just an option where I could, like, just drag the move out, the attack move or the normal move, and just have them spread out this far normally. I think you want to be able to, like, spread your units out, so, like, at minimum, you can at least in this game, just with one click, drag them out so that no one's being hit by the same bomb, right? Like, if that's your choice, why make the player click 10 or 20 times when they could do it in one click, right? You've still got to do it either way at a high level of play. You've still got to do that. It's one of those things, like, it just makes you do more work that you wouldn't otherwise have to do, right? Let us spread units out more. It's my one prayer. It'd help new players get into this game more too, I think. Because it's a real noob trap otherwise. Like, newbies are always going to end up clustering up in a really silly way. And bombs are going to wreak havoc on the artillery. Now I'm pushing over these Bradleys here. But the engagement doesn't really suit me because my strongest asset, nice bombing there from my teammate, nice Viper run. My strongest asset here in the Bradleys in a tank fight is the ATGMs. But because of the way the enemy are, like, starting to retreat backwards now, their tank is flitting in and out of line of sight as they kind of... There's kind of like weird line of sight with trees, right? Like, I can see them for a second, then I can't, then I can, then I can't. And when line of sight breaks, there's another Bradley on the left, when line of sight breaks, the tow is not going to be able to hit anymore, because it only works when you're keeping guidance basically the whole way. You take an enemy Dervish Dyer there, but I'm taking pretty heavy hits from the enemy tanks. The enemy has, like, tank cannons here that are doing much better in this kind of environment. If this was longer range without that line of trees there, this Bradley attack probably goes fine. Unfortunately, because of how that engagement went with those initial tanks where I kept losing line of sight, and then just the rest of it, really the Bradleys get mauled there by superior tanks. I drop in a Strike Eagle run there, doesn't take out the tank, but does make it pretty unhappy. And even though I've only got a few Bradleys left here, my teammate's pushing in as well, and that's going to support me. You know, we're basically paying a very bloody cost, but we are kind of dislodging the enemy from this forest, which is what we wanted. What is that, B-15? That Kurganet's there? Goes in close quarters and takes my Bradley out. And then the other one too. He's gone crazy. He must have one of those autocannons on top of it. I think the enemy just tried to seed me, but... Ooh, are we gonna get it? Yeah, we get that plane. But we have 4 Pivads screening the Patriots now, so the seed missile won't get through unless they bring a lot of them at once. And we actually take out that felon in return. Our kill score is looking really nice, and some of that you can thank to the Patriots. If you can get a AA system up, long range like this, that's very stable, like it's got Pivads covering it and everything, and the enemy never really, like, commits to overwhelming it enough to get rid of it. It's just free points, and it covers you from being mauled by enemy airstrikes. You can just leave it there all game, and it'll just do the work for you, which is fantastic. Especially when you're not playing against the best of the best players in the game, it's not that hard to, as long as you position far enough back from the front line that you can't just be artilleried, it's not that hard to just have an AFK anti-air net. And that's usually what I aim for, because I think the best players in the world, you know, the best play in the world is like you're always moving the Patriots after they've shot, so you can never get bombed or something, but I usually don't have time for that. That's who I am. I just... what is that? Is that a cruise missile or a nuke? Whatever it is, it gets intercepted by my Patriots. Again, very important to have an AA net up. I think that was a nuke. It was a cruise missile otherwise, but it looked big enough that it might have been a nuke. Very important. And that's another reason I don't like moving my AA systems around. Not just sheer laziness, but also I want to have an AA system that can withstand just sitting there, not having to turn its radar off against SEED. Because otherwise, SEED doesn't stand for killing the enemy air, it's suppression of enemy air defenses. All they have to do is to get you to turn your radars off for a little bit, and they can slip their strike in. You want to keep your radars up, ideally, so you can stop the enemy. Get a little strike eagle run in here. I do use a lot more dumb bombs now, but that is one of the advantages of precision-guided munitions, that right there is I hit 3 different targets at once. Very precisely, got to take out a supply dump and some units, which is good. We're getting away with it too, that Striegel flies off, which is nice. Because the unit's damaged, you get less money for the refund, and it'll still take longer to come back because it needs to be repaired. But it's better than it dying. Oh, little Viper, run! Little Viper gets away. So, at this point, I've, you know, I made an attempt for a Bradley push. Again, it didn't really do very well. I didn't at least lose too much money on it because, you know, none of them were very expensive units. But also, by not bringing any expensive tanks in the mix, I think that's why the attack failed so easily. I think a couple of Abrams would have made it more effective. Regardless, you know, we did achieve a small win there of pushing the enemy out of that forest a bit more. But there's still some left over there, and we really don't have like a hold on the DRJ point anytime soon at this point. So, I can't say exactly what I was thinking at this time, because again, this was played a few weeks ago. But I would say that I would like to think, in hindsight, I think I remember what I was doing here is just kind of like taking a breather. Building up some points again, and getting ready for a big proper push at the right time. Our destruction score is very good, so we're already ahead. But I want to be achieving more than that. I want to be, you know, taking a cap zone. I think taking the neutral cap zone, i.e. the cap zone that you and your lane opponent are fighting over in the middle, the one that's anyone's game, I think taking that should generally be your goal. If you can't achieve it, that's fine. Find other ways to help your team win. While maybe maintaining pressure on the enemy there so that they don't go somewhere else to help their team somewhere else. You know, keep them busy. But I think that's generally your basic default benchmark for success and of being a useful player to your team is I'm going to try and take that neutral cap zone. I'm calling in some more units here now. Bradleys. Did I see an M8 there maybe? Not sure. I'm calling in some Bradleys again, and we're going to give it another go. And I would say, because I know how my brain works, I'm going for the 15-minute coat push to take J and help take G, probably. Not GD. Now, my teammates are doing a good job here. My teammates, I should say, there. I see 2 different colors of green there. They're creeping up well on the D point, and you can see they're pretty coiled. They're going to be ready to spring forward and try to take the D point as well. So if I make a big push on J, it's going to give my teammates some distraction and cover and support to get into D as well. And, you know, us both attacking at once is going to be good. I've sent my Recon Humvee in there to try and help scout things. We spot a SPG team. And there is one big difference to my plan this time with my Bradleys. I've tried and failed and tried and failed. I'm a man who's lost time and time again here to play this tree line fight on the left for J point. And this time, rather than doing that, I've loaded my Bradleys up with infantry. I'm going for an actual mechanized infantry push, not just a mechanized push. And rather than going for the trees, because that did not work well, I am fast moving into that town. My plan here is to thunder run this convoy of Bradleys all the way through that town full of buildings onto the J point. This bypasses the tree line that's been giving me hell as a terrain feature this whole match. And it's a new way of fighting. It's probably going to work a lot better for me while still staying cost effective, because infantry are very cheap, especially mechanized infantry and cheap tow teams. And so the idea here is we want to start doing this in advance. You can see I'm already queuing up the orders. You can't, you know, expect to control every unit at once in this game, so I queue up orders very far in advance whenever possible. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, the front Bradleys of this column will be the first ones to start unloading their troops, and then the other Bradleys will leapfrog past them under cover of the infantry they've delivered to the buildings. That's why I've got my tow teams in the front of the Bradley column, because I want them unloading first at the buildings furthest away from the enemy to start covering us with ATGM fire. Now, failing that, then you've got a couple of, well, not failing that, but after that you've got a couple of empty Bradleys who are screening for the real assault, because you're always going to, you're going to tend to lose your first transports in a Thunder Run like this. Though in this case, I'm spreading them out just to attack. So it might have been better to keep them with the others, but anyway. Then the mech infantry go in. And these are just standard guys who, again, we're just going to, like, leapfrog in, right? We're going to deploy some mech infantry, and then the next Bradley will bound past and deploy their infantry closer, and we're going to just leapfrog past each other with our friendly fire. One of my Patriots just gets taken out there by Seed or something, which is too bad. Only problem here is my tow teams don't have an angle on enemy tanks because they're too far behind in the town. My positioning isn't very good there. Those two tow teams need to be moving so that they can get a clear line of sight. They're being blocked by the suburbs right now. But at least it's kind of going both ways a little bit. The enemy tanks are also struggling to get fire on my mech infantry, and my mech infantry are able to push in here. We've discovered some enemy infantry that were also hiding in these buildings, and with the suddenness of our attack, we're going to be able to take them out before they can be relieved by any friendly force. At the same time, my teammate is pushing in on the D point, another Thunder Run, God bless, 8 Marines and ACVs, let's go. The enemy did have some kind of tripwire force there, screening in front of the J point, but they didn't in front of D. You can see how my friendlies who've been pushing up on the D point this whole time are just there to immediately just snap their fingers and push on the D point. Just like that, there's no room, no warning, and with 60 minutes, only 1 minute left in the phase, it'll be hard for the enemy to stop that in time. Meanwhile, we've taken this town with our Bradleys and, well, meanwhile, we've forced the enemy to sacrifice the town as a strategic holding point, degraded the enemy's ability to hold the tree line that they took from us earlier in the phase, and have managed to finally get 2 Bradleys through to the J point. With a couple of mech infantry here to take and hold it. The enemy just needs to push that B-15 onto the point to stop me from capping here, but I don't think they're paying attention. Which allows me to neutral it out. This neutralizes the enemy's cap flag advantage they had just then for phase 2. And if I cap it all the way, I don't know, will we even... No, we won't get it back. Unfortunately, the enemy does get their flag advantage back, you can see. They've got 60% of the territory because they're taking points on the right side of the map while we're taking points on the left side. So unfortunately, that doesn't do a lot for us, but I guess if we hadn't taken this point or hadn't taken the others, the advantage might have been even worse. They might have got +4. I don't know. It almost sounds like I'm coping. All I can say is I achieved my objective of taking the J point in time. Oh, I have really good timing in this review. We still do take the objective, but we have nothing left for it. Is there still something good about that? I mean, yeah, of course. Like, you're paying a lot of blood, you're paying a lot of points for what just happened, for it to, you know, all end up dead at the end of it. It's the end. It's like the Dawn of War intro cutscene at this point. It's just the sergeant going, "Oh," and frickin' dying. But we scored the points. And we do take the D point. So when you look at how the map looks now compared to how it looked before I spent that 1,000 points, or however much that cost, we have the D point. We have wiped out all the Russian units that were ahead of the J and D points as well. So even though they've now taken the J point back, we have succeeded in dislodging them in that sense. And we know they've got to start building up their defenses again if they want to hold it. And much more importantly than that, once again, you know, my teammate has managed to push ahead the Marines player there. And the other teammate, yeah. My 2 teammates are pushing ahead to start pushing in front of the D point as well, which is great. I'm going to see if we can do anything with that there. Tow teams on the enemy T-80s. Looks like they're convincing them to fall back, so that's good. I'm bringing in a striker run here. I think I didn't do this one in time. I was still getting used to how long it takes PGMs to aim. Now look at this. See how early I actually called those bomb strikes in there? And yet even then it wasn't fast enough? That's the results of the new nerfs to aim time on precision-guided bombs that they've added in this test we played. It's an incredibly good change, and I'm so glad they did it. Couldn't have asked for better. It really does make precision-guided munitions not so brain-dead to use, and it's a great part of why you see so much more artillery, I think, so much more artillery and other stuff in this build and these matches. The game is in a much healthier space. Kudos to them, they identified the problem and solved it very elegantly. With that and other targeted nerfs and changes to how airstrike and PGM behavior works, and I think that's great. I love jets, but jets were definitely too easy to spam as your kill everything option in previous betas, and I'm so glad they addressed that without making jets unfun. They did very fair and smart things to the jets, and good for them. I love the developers of this game, they do such a good job, and you can tell they love their game, and that they know what they're doing. So, what do we do now? I've got a bunch of money again. I've called in another Abrams. Okay, I'm sending my Bradley straight in there. I haven't really got much else here. I've lost all of my AA, unfortunately. No, I haven't. I moved it up. Whew! For a minute there, I was like, whew, where did it all go? No, it's just been moved up. I've got quite aggressive with the AA placement here. Seeing as I'm not making a Death or Glory attack right now. And by the way, props to Yeet Machine. Yeet was the one who bombed my entire town full of Bradleys there. Though before we talk about something else, cost effectiveness, the funny thing is, I was talking to Yeet after the match, and I think the cost of that bomber that he lost for bombing all those Bradleys, he was saying how it wasn't even worth all, you know, all the cheap mech infantry and cheap Bradleys that the bomber actually got. That's the fun of cost effectiveness, right? You can't keep all your units alive in this game, and airstrikes and artillery like that, if an enemy player or an enemy team really wants to kill something you have and they can see it, they can probably do it. But if you use units cost effectively, like you're not just sitting like 4 of the most expensive tanks in the game in one spot on the map, you keep them spread out or use cheaper units, even when the enemy spends very expensive options to on-demand kill you, like, you know, massive jet bombers, you can make it so it's not really cost effective for them, and so it's kind of like good cope. It's like healthy mindset cope. You kind of go, like even at the time, like that all got bombed, but I was like, you know, you didn't win, I'm winning because you killed me, but it cost you too much. It's a good way to look at the game, I think. You don't have to feel bad and frustrated about getting airstruck all the time. You can be like, no, it's okay, because cost-effective wise, I still came out on top there. Because I got your bomber. Though it's not all just prices on a spreadsheet, you know, like, it matters what dies where and when in what context. You can see I got a bit too aggressive with my Patriots there, which is what I was going to talk about, is moving your Patriots up closer allows you to stop enemy airstrikes potentially before they get their bombs off and just be better at engaging them, because the AA is closer to the jets and where they'll turn around. However, if you move your AA up too far, you become in range of enemy artillery. Most tube artillery is around 4,000 range, so you generally want to be at least beyond that. Rocket artillery is about 5,000 to 6,000, so if you want to be safe, keep your AA like 5,000 to 6,000 meters behind the front line, wherever the enemy can get an artillery piece, basically. But if you want to get aggro, move it up, but then you might have to move it so it doesn't get artillery. Bringing in some more Bradleys here now. These are those guys we put in the oven earlier. Rather than completely rushing to J-point right now, I'm trying to be a bit more big-brained here, a bit less smooth-brained, and fight the actual force in front of me. What's this? Not just, like, kamikaze in the flag? What? Diverting some units here, getting my tow teams firing. This is a lot of enemy units, but luckily, well, you see the solution. I had someone ask me about this just this morning before I started recording this. They were like, well, how do you deal with big, overwhelming pushes of enemy units coming in at you like this? And one thing is, ideally, you want to prepare and have, you know, your ground units to take a while to arrive in place already so that they can deal with this. You don't want to be expecting to micro all your units against that many enemy units at once. Just have, like, positions, units in place and just let them do their job, like tow teams. You're not going to micro a tow team. You're just going to leave it in place and it's going to do its job. Other than that, other than having, you know, prepared for this kind of eventuality, with multiple defensive lines too, so if your first one is destroyed, you have a second one to move in. Your quicker options to deal with things are airstrikes and helicopters. You wanna call in an airstrike like that Viper that came in, you know, preferably with Mavericks against enemy tank push, bombs against anything else, or cluster bombs against armor as well. Here comes another one. Because when the enemy pushes this fast, they're generally going to be pushing in the open, and they're often going to be pushing ahead of the rest of their defensive line, which makes them very vulnerable to air attack. I'm trying to get some more bombs in here, trying to actually make sure my bombs get off this time. Trying to account for the longer aim time. But, you know, those are your oh shit buttons. Airstrikes and helicopters are how you go, hey, nice run, or how you go, oh man, like 10 tanks are rushing me, I need to stop them now. That's the power of aircraft, is not just their weapons, but their speed. So we managed to blunt that attack. With combinations of multiple airstrikes, lots of air support, bit of artillery is going in now, and a little bit of grunt work from the Bradleys and their mechanized infantry. Enemy's got some Hinds coming down on the left side. This is still anyone's game at this point, because of the point scoring at the end here. It's +3 for an objective. We barely hold territory control right now. We got really ahead by having destruction score advantage last phase, but now we're only 3 points ahead. So all the enemy needs to do is score like 1 more objective than us here to neutral, and score 2 more to win. So even though we're ahead, we got to be careful here, because we have a very tenuous grip here. Why is the enemy not taking the D point there? That seems like a bug. They've got a red unit there, we don't have any blue units and they're not taking it. They should have that point. I wonder if it's a visual bug or like what. Anyway. Don't know if I even clocked it at the time. I was just like, oh, infantry there, bomb. We are more vulnerable to their strikes right now as well, because I lost all my... I think I actually lost all my A this time due to being in artillery range. There goes my bomb run. Takes them out. Okay, it's not a bug anymore. Now there's no Russian units there, right? But they should still have that point, so... Let's see what happens with that for the rest. Well, now they're dropping more units in. Maybe it was desync, because... Oh, there's a big push. And now they're capping it. Okay, so it won't affect the outcome of the match. Phew! That would have been awkward. They're doing a big push to actually hold the place. Unfortunately, that's a hell of a drop zone VDV moment. That is crazy. Like, that's a cool move, but if they'd even just dropped the units behind a D point and moved up to the point, it wouldn't have been getting mauled by all the Marines in the woods. As it is, they just parachuted in front of the Marines, who were just sitting around, like, doing rippets and eating crowns. And the thing is, like... I know, like, it's a meme in the Milsim community to always do the thing of, like, oh, like, you can't shoot parachutists. No, it's okay. Like, you just can't shoot parachuting pilots. Like, Marines are not the fucking people who are going to be asking that question one way or the other. Marines are going to see, like, red shit in a parachute and full auto on it. Like, that is not the kind of force that you want to be power dropping in front of no matter what you are. You know, we don't give a fuck. Marines are going to go face. God bless. Did an Australian just say, God bless the Marine Corps? He sure did, folks. Takes me right back to my Arma days, don't worry. I played in Shack-Tac, so honorary US Marine Beaglerush, of course. Oh god, that's giving me flashbacks to, like, we were on Devil Dog and all that shit. So they do have the D point now. You know, in fairness, even though the airdrop could have been probably done in a way that got less of them mauled on drop, it is effective in taking the D point and holding it. Though I wasn't paying attention. Is that what flipped the destruction score so heavily in our favor, killing all that shit? Because you can see, beforehand, the enemy was actually ahead in destruction. Now, we're very solidly ahead instead. We've killed a lot of the enemy's stuff. We still hold territory control because our team on the right side of the map has done an incredibly good job. Which is a good example of how, even if you don't, like, end up taking your neutral point and doing super well in your lane, don't feel too bad, because even just putting pressure on the enemy contributes to the match. Every little bit helps. Because all we need to do at this point to win, we don't need to even win on this side, but as a team, all we on the left side here need to do is keep enough pressure on the Russian players that they don't feel like they can spend their time going over to help their teammates fight our teammates on the right side of the map. If we just give up here and go, oh, they're gonna keep J and D point, we're gonna do anything, even if that's true, the Russian players, as soon as they realize that, send all of their points over to the other side and, you know, start bombing and mauling the hell out of our teammates. And not just points, but mental focus. They start looking at the rest of our team. It's very important to keep your enemy's attention in mind and think of it as a resource. Just like you have attention as a resource, so does the enemy. Now, I did try to look at the screen more this game, though, and to ring this match out doing that, let's have a look at what I'm doing here finally. Bringing in, with the timing to get it before the end of the match, bringing in one last push on the J point. And at this point, as my mech infantry come into the Bradleys, it really looks like the enemy's ran out of steam. Unlike where they were very dominantly holding in front of the J point in the start of the match, you can see that they've got nothing here but a couple of units just in the J point itself. You know, before they had this beautiful crawl of, like, enemy recon, tanks and IFVs and air support and everything pushing and creeping on me and taking my forest from me, and now it's just Russians running away from Bradleys trying to run them over. And honestly, folks, we love to see the difference. As a complete Bradley enjoyer. I love to see it. I love to see this right now. The Bradleys are running them down. It's like a cavalry charge. It's like Total War. My lord. The enemy routes. Yes, sally forth. Hunt them down with the light cavalry. Oh, and like they bombed there, but they hit nothing, which is fantastic. I mean, I guess that was insulting to the mech infantry. They hit the mech infantry, but the mech infantry lives to do their job now of just holding the point and capping it. So that's fine. The units don't even die. 4 guys die, but the other 2 are still doing the job. If this was a game of different mechanics, I'd, like Total War, I could combine those 2 mech infantry together and be like, okay, I've just got 1 mech infantry now. We're still pushing forward to the Bradleys. Rather than just sitting there to be bombed or counterattacked, I'm basically just pushing forward at this time to, again, keep the enemy's pressure and focus on me. Rushing ATGM teams so that they can't shoot at me. Oh, but of course, you'll always see this. What do we say? When you push forward of your line this far, enemy helicopters are the way to go to stop you. My Stinger team's already out of ammo there, but, you know, we'll probably be able to convince that helicopter to piss off. We're taking the D point back on the right there. I pushed my Abrams in to take advantage of my teammates' stellar work, dislodging all that VDV from the D points. I have new Patriots in, but I never got around to resupplying them. Whoops. Whoops. Over-focused moment. Over tunnel vision moment. And the enemy is bringing in some armor to try and take back the points here. But I don't think it's going to get to us in time. And you can see, you know, I think we were probably looking a bit shaky in Phase 1. I don't think I really did anything until that first big Bradley push through the town to take the J point in the mid-game. But you can see how much more dominantly we end this match all of a sudden. Yeah, GG there. You know, my team did a fantastic job, and, you know, most of the kudos goes to them. You know, we're all a team. But I think on personal performance, the moment for me where things changed is where I started feeling like I was providing more value to the match and my team. Is where I got aggressive rather than being static with my mech. Because the first half of the match, I'm just sitting there, I'm doing a bad job of being a static defender with vehicles, squandering their strengths and mobility, and I'm just making the classic blunder in these games of being static, having bad recon, just sitting there blind and dumb, and just getting picked apart and shelled like I'm a single-player static bot in the campaign, and the enemy's just having a nice, comfortable time fucking me up calmly at their leisure. And when we switched that around and we started doing attacks, even the first Bradley attack that was bloody and pretty, not super successful, but at least like dislodged the enemy and put them on notice. Once we started pressuring the enemy, the game changed for me. I don't want to, again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying, oh, and then I started playing better and we won because of that. We won as a team, but just my personal play, regardless of winning the match or losing it, that is when I think I started providing much more value in this match, is when I became an aggressive player instead of being a static player, just sitting in trees and doing a very bad job of it. It's not like you can't be a static defensive good player in this game. It's just that I was doing a very bad job of it, and if you're going to do it, be better at it, and you know, you've got to expect to get bombed and stuff like that, and you've got to look out for it. Look at all the damage my Patriots did. Look at all that. 185-point Patriot. Look at the value. And we won on destruction score quite a bit in this game too, so when you look at how many points those Patriots earned, they just sat there, you know? They just sat there the whole time. Now, I've never even looked at them. And you lose them, you replace them. But as long as you're not losing them all the time and you have them up for a decent amount of the match, you're just getting so much value. You're just getting so much value off keeping an A net up as long as you can. And so, yeah, that's that. I'm going to pause my video now in the background. Final thoughts. I mean, yeah, I think it's a match that really, at least to me, can be used as a great example of being static versus being aggressive. I wasn't even being that elegant or good or clever in my attacks, but once I got aggressive, and in turn my allies on the left flank took those moments to be aggressive with me, when we were pushing, we were putting pressure on the enemy. You want to give the enemy problems, because it's the same with Mechabellum, another game that I've actually recently started playing again. It's the same with many games. I've seen people talk about fighting games in the same way. Having the initiative is very important in these kinds of PvP games. It's the mental and the mindset is very important, especially in a game like this in Broken Arrow, where because it can be so overwhelming, it's very easy to get demoralized in this game. And you've got to remember that, because you'll have bad matches in this, especially as a new player, and you'll be like, oh my god, it feels so bad. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm the worst. I can't do anything, and you'll just freeze up. And that is something to inflict on the enemy. That sounds horrible, but that's part of these matches. Is if your enemy's mental status, that is something to target. You can make an attack or a move that doesn't even gain you any of the in-game resources that have score associated with them, like destruction necessarily, or territory or anything. But you can still be attacking the enemy's calm, their zen, their mind palace. That's very important. Just like anything that can happen to you in this game that feels bad, think about how the enemy feels when you do things to them, and start to do it to them on purpose, perhaps. Something like harassing raids with light units in their backline. Even if it doesn't achieve much, even if you only get 1 or 2 units, you can take out a couple of units that just the enemy forgets to then replace for ages, like AA or something like that. Like with me, where I didn't have supplies in my AA for a while. You can, when you take out the enemy's recon that they had, maybe that's the only recon they had in the area, and they forget to get anything back there for 10 minutes, or it's annoying for them to get it back there. These little wins that may on paper only be like you've killed a 75-point recon unit, in practice can actually have really large effects on the enemy's mental wellness, mental health. I shouldn't call it that, it sounds so toxic, but you can really disturb the enemy's morale and calm with little victories like that you'll never know how impactful they were in disturbing the enemy and distracting them. So that's very important to think about. And on the flip side, one of the most important things you'll learn in this game is how to stay calm and how to not tunnel vision. I think just to sum it up before I talk forever, let's just sum it up by saying that staying calm and recognizing when you're tunnel visioning, and trying to find ways to consciously get yourself out of that mode whenever you can is good. And also, tunnel visioning shouldn't be seen, I guess, as a pure negative. It's not like, oh, I'm tunnel visioning again, that's a mistake, I should stop. I think you should also predict and expect and plan for when you need to do it. Because tunnel visioning, when it's not being called like a bad thing, that's called babysitting, right? We're babysitting our units. Sometimes you got to do that. One thing that I'll leave us on here as I talk about before I call it a day for this review is I'll say one thing that really sort of helped me in that sense as an example is I stopped calling in units with the idea that I would remember to use them once they got there. Let me explain what I mean. So intuitively for me with this game, I would originally start calling in just like, oh, I need a tow team here. I'm gonna blah, 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 very quickly, no time to spare, call in a truck with a tow team in it, wham! Just spam it somewhere on the screen near the front line, okay? And in my mind, it's like, all right, in 2 minutes when that truck's getting closer or however long, I'll see it coming or I'll remember and I'll give it actual orders. And of course, what ends up happening? You might get distracted. You might be busy with something else. Excuse me, I really hope you didn't hear that again. And for whatever reason, you never end up remembering the truck and it drives straight to the enemy lines. So after that happened to me enough times, I started holding myself to a new, more disciplined rule that whenever I called in a unit, I would have time to give it initial orders. A unit would never leave my base without being given a briefing, essentially. And I don't always hold to this, of course, but it's a general thing I tried to hold to. So instead of that, the example would be, now I would go, okay, I'm going to do the thing I have to do here. I need reinforcements right now, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to finish microing my unit right now because it's necessary. And then 10, 20 seconds later, when I have time, or I'll just make time now, I will call in the truck with the tow team in it, and I will shift click. I will queue up a whole bunch of orders, which means you have to wait a couple of seconds for the unit to spawn, which is usually the part that I, ADHD leave and don't stay on it. But I would go, no, I'm going to wait, select the truck, okay, queue up, fast move down this road, waypoint sneak through this wood, come up to this position or this building, queue unload, queue RTB. Or, another unit, take the tank, and okay, fast move up this road, shift click through the woods, queue up attack move through this wood, end up in front of this point where I want you. And by doing that, I basically adopted an ethos of whenever I call in a unit, I am prepared to never see that unit again. I am prepared for the eventuality that even if I completely forget I called that unit in, it is still accomplishing what I wanted it to accomplish, or it's getting ready to. So either it is pushing to the defensive position I wanted, it is making its solo recon push or attack on the place I wanted it to, or it is moving smartly to its staging area and waiting with other units in a position where it won't be killed. And that was a big upgrade for me. There just is not time in the day for a player like me to manage all my stuff at once in this game, and you will get distracted sometimes. It's not healthy or sane or reasonable for you to go, I'll just become a better player and stop making those mistakes. Instead, recognize the limits of your own mental game and be like, instead, I may forget about this unit, and that's fine. That's just part of my limits, and I will account for that. I will be planning for that when I call it in. Anyway, something to think about. I'll stop talking now. One of my comments was like, you suck and you talk too much. Sack your deck. I don't think I will. I think I'll keep on playing. They recommended I become a Minecraft content creator. Funnily enough, I was just playing Minecraft again yesterday for the first time in ages. They had very uncanny timing. But no, I don't think I will. I think I'll keep on playing, keep on reviewing. I love this game so very much. Even if